If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.
The following is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network.
Hello, this is Zack Sabre Jr., New Japan Cup winner 2018. And you're listening to Keepin It Strong Style with my mates. Enjoy.
Yo, this is Rich Latta from One Nation Radio. This is brought to you by the Social Suplex Podcast Network. We present to you the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Let's go. It's the Ace of Podcasts, Keepin It Strong Style. Covering New Japan, they ready to hold it down. Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Josh. Come and hit a job out and bury all the frauds. From the Tokyo Dome over to the G1. Social Suplex is the network where we can get it done. I'ma chill and let them have it, cause this is just an intro. Keeping the strong style, 6 stars from the get-go, boy. Yeah, from Tampa Bay to the Tokyo Dome, this is Keeping It Strong Style with your hosts, Jeremy Donovan and the young boy Joshua Smith. And thank you for listening.
Welcome to Keeping It Strong Style, the ASA podcast on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. Jeremy Donovan here with the young boy Josh Smith. On today's show, we'll review nights 4 through 8 of the World Tag League and cover all latest news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Please support our show by subscribing and following the Social Suplex Podcast Network and Keeping It Strong Style on the podcast app of your choice and leaving a rating and review. You can also get all the network's podcasts over at socialsuplex.com. If you enjoy this podcast, please consider making a one-time or monthly donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keeping It Strong Style logo. And we are streaming live on patreon.com/KI Strong Style for IWGP subscribers and grade 1 subscribers this week. If you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. Young boy, how you doing, man?
Ho, 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 bitches. It's December. You know what that means? It's time for the Santa hat. It's time for holly and cheer. And it's time for what for some people is, a break when it comes. Yeah, I'm shouting out, Joel and Damon, Super J-Cast, it's a break for them. But for us, it's the busiest time of year. We got FOH coming up. We got Tokyo Dome coming up. We got awards season coming up. And the best coverage in all the land when it comes to World Tag League.
That's right. We haven't, we're like Fred Rosser, no days off. What? Hey, yeah.
Block the hate.
Yes, block the hate. Yeah, we've been, since day one, we've reviewed every World Tag League. No subs, no fill-ins here. So yeah.
No hate. I kind of envy those guys. I think that they are making the wise decision.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Even though this year's tournament has been, in my estimation, the best since like 2017, 2018. Very, very good tournament, but still, bro, I'm tired. Are you tired, Jeremy?
Yeah, bro. I've skipped most of the undercard on these shows and just got to the meat and potatoes, got to the tournament matches, and it makes it so much easier to get through.
I've watched some of the undercard. Not a lot to take note of. There was one night I noticed Satoshi Kojima. I don't know if he was, I didn't take a look at the official card, so I don't know if it was a situation where he was booked to work. And then this was the night after they wrestled Shuji Ishikawa and Desperado. So I don't know if I know those two guys him and Shuji, they went kind of hard in that match. So I don't know if he needed a little breather and he ended up not working the preview tags the next night, or if it was just, I don't know, his kid was, had a recital. Actually, I don't know his family situation, but let's just say his grandkid, because at his age, you never know, he had to go to a little league practice, that sort of thing. And so he asked for the night off. I'm not sure which one it was, but I did notice he missed a night. Nothing else too major on the undercards, just a lot of, the one thing I have noticed though, A block, the nights where A block is on the undercard of B block, the matches are going way faster, way shorter. And I think that's probably likely due to the fact that they're giving so much time to some of the major matches in the B block. It is the superior block after all. So, that was a little noticeable, which I guess is good because it's like the A block hasn't necessarily been killing it. Yeah. So it's like, who needs a double dose of that the next night? You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Well, before we jump into our tag league coverage, it is December 1st, like you mentioned. So we have to award our November match of the month and wrestler of the month. So, Josh, why don't you start us off with the match of the month?
Yeah, match of the month was a really, really tough call because there were two particularly great standout matches in the month of November. One being the IWGP title match between Konosuke Takeshita as he successfully defended against Hiroki Goto. But you and I, we were just really on the fence. The Inmates a Cage match, they might have liked that match a little bit higher. But you and I kind of, we liked the final night of block play when it came to the Ichiban Sweet Boys and Bullet Club War Dogs team of Robbie X and Ishimori. And for that reason, even though the other match was a standout, this was just a hair, just a nose greater in our estimation. So our match of the month is the main event of the B block finals of World Tag League.
Yeah, Super Junior Tag League. Yeah,
Super Junior Tag League. My bad.
Wanted to give those guys some love too, because I feel like that's a tour that gets overlooked. And Ichiban Sweet Boys and both Robbie X and Ishimori, I felt like they worked very hard throughout the whole tournament. And yeah, that final block play match between them was really great. Don't get me wrong, like you mentioned, Goto and Takeshita was awesome as well. We easily could have gone either way, but yeah, the junior tag just edged it out for us.
Yeah, I know that they knew the bullshit that was coming the next, for the finals in Gifu. So they were like, we're going to give you the real right here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, here's a real final. Yeah. And then for our November wrestler of the month, we're going to go with the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. So Tanahashi's had a busy November. He had two singles matches, had a match against Yota Tsuji for the global title, also having a match with Yuto Ice, two very good singles matches. And then, of course, he's been in the World Tag League with El Phantasmo and has been working very hard throughout the league as well. So we're awarding that to Tanahashi.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that ELP and Tanahashi have been having the strongest of tag runs in the World Tag League, but they kind of edged it out here down the stretch. The match with the Knockout Brothers and then this most recent main event against TMDK, that one was outstanding. And for that, when you combine that with the two kind of unexpectedly great singles matches that Tanahashi had, there were definitely other names that we were considering. Yuto Ice, the Knockout Brothers as a collective, Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. from TMDK, Yota Tsuji. Am I forgetting anybody else? I think that's pretty much all the nominees we were thinking of, but Tanahashi was able to edge it out. And I mean, unless something really substantial happens in December, of course, there are some Road to Tokyo Dome shows, and those will be like the final corkins of Tanahashi's career. So you never know what that might entail. I feel like they're planting some seeds here in the goings of the World Tag League for potentially whatever that looks like for him. But it's unlikely that he'll have the singular standout month of December. So this is very likely the final time in the history of this show that Hiroshi Tanahashi is wrestler of the month.
Yeah, that's crazy to think about. Also, something crazy as we have been preparing for awards, I like to look back and see who's won, different awards. And when I was looking back at Wrestler of the Year, like Tanahashi has not won.
He's never won it.
Wrestler of the Year since we've been doing this. And I'll say we started in 2017. So that was our first year in awards. So from 2017 to 2024, Tanahashi has not captured Wrestler of the Year. It's crazy.
Well, I mean, while we're on the topic of Tanahashi, I am still in the midst of Tanahashi Ace of the Universe. 2013 is recorded. 2014 will be recorded tomorrow morning. So that's really great. And 2013 is just waiting to be uploaded. That's my bad. But we're at that phase where as we start to go into the golden age, blah, 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 like of the Western expansion and visibility of New Japan, Tanahashi is always at the top. He's always a player, but he's not going to win from 2014 on very many awards for the remainder of his career in terms of like the publications, whether that's Tokyo Sports, Nikon Sports, Cage Match, Voices of Wrestling, Wrestling Observer. There's quite a few publications out there that are sort of recognized. And he's already by like 2014, he's already won all his MVP. No. He's won 3 of his MVPs, but he does have a very controversial MVP that will come up in like, I believe 2018, the year where many people thought it should have been Kenny Omega. They do give it to Tanahashi, but that's the one lone major award that he's going to win. He's already from like 2011 to 2013, he went hat trick with the Ric Flair Luthez Award, which I don't, other than Ric Flair, I don't think anybody's ever won that 3 times back to back to back like that. So that's pretty crazy. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. We started in 2017 and yeah, Tanahashi had fantastic years. He was, he gets nominated almost every year for Wrestler of the Year, but you're not going to see his name like all over our awards lists, just kind of going back through the history.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then
also, Emily, if you're listening, be sure, this is a suggestion that I gave her. Be sure to hit the socials with the wrestler in the match of the month. I think that'd be a nice little thing that we could get out there. So
yeah. Other thing I want to plug here, the Social Suplex newsletter had a new issue that dropped this weekend, and the front page story by Trish covering a lot of the details behind the whole Tanahashi final opponent. I don't think we need to go into it because we've had a lot of discussions about what's gone down, but Trish goes into great detail on what went down on the WWE side, what went down on the AEW side, what was going down on the New Japan side. And so there's a lot more information and reporting there on the newsletter in the front page. So socialsuplex.com, go to newsletter. And I've been seeing a lot of New Japan fans and other podcasters retweeting the newsletter and praising Trish for her reporting there. And yeah, I checked it out this morning. I thought, yeah, she did an excellent job.
Yeah, we had a brief dialogue last week, the same night that Stranger Things season 5 part 1 dropped. So, I was able to kind of give her some feedback as to, what we had heard and that sort of thing. But she's done her due diligence. Like, we're far from, like, I was reading through it and I was like, yeah, there's a couple tidbits from, what me and her had discussed, but the vast majority of it, she's gotten her sourcing from all over the world. And I think that there's probably literally nobody else. And I'm not just saying this because it's on our network, so I'm not going to bullshit people. If I thought it was just good, I would just say like, yeah, she did a good job and then shut my mouth. But I think that she literally did the most comprehensive, well-researched and well thought out compilation of the ongoings and the backstage of what occurred with these alleged negotiations and the business side of things. And if you haven't read it, be sure to check that out because I think she did an outstanding job and probably put most of the so-called wrestling journalists that are in the space, to shame. And you notice Social Suplex, we're not one of the publications that just copy and pasted the false results that came out from AEW recently regarding Takeshita and Tekla and all that. So, we do the real work here. I'm not involved with that newsletter personally, and I'm so proud of the work they put forth, not just her, but the entire staff. I wish I knew all the names of everybody that's involved in that. And there's so many, I mean, she's really taken that thing and put it on her back. And
yeah, that's her brainchild. And yeah, there's so many people now that are involved, and I'm just handing out logins to the site. I'm like, sure, here you go, do your thing. And yeah, they've been doing a great job. The newsletter looks really great. I loved checking out the Japan section also today, and they added these really cool like result drop downs. I was looking at the Noah section. So yeah, they're doing a really great job with the newsletter. Very detailed coverage from all around the world in there, and it's absolutely free. That's kind of been like a part of the mission statement and kind of passion behind this newsletter. It's presenting wrestling coverage for free. Obviously, you have a lot of people put their stuff behind paywalls and Patreons and subscriptions, but Trish and the team really wanted to make this free and available for everybody and not hide the news. So kudos to them, and really shout out on the great work they're doing there.
Yeah, it's like that movie Concussion with Will Smith. Tell the truth.
Yeah.
Tell the truth. That's what we do here,
Yeah.
One last thing. I think it's probably fine for us to like officially make this announcement. You don't have it on the rundown, but I figured we'd go ahead and just kind of pop the cherry, so to speak. There is going to be we've already alleged or alluded to it, but there will be a pro wrestling or a New Japan Pro Wrestling podcast fan meetup the day of Wrestle Kingdom. We are going head to head with the Tokyo Joshi Pro Show. Official times, I believe it's going to be at noon is what we're thinking, but it's going to be ourselves, Joel from the Super J Cast, Josh from We Work Stiff, and then from Speaking of Strong Style, it's going to be Jeremy Finestone. So all of those different podcasts will have representation. We're combining our efforts and meeting up. I don't have the official name. We're going to get the official like marketing material out there. We've got logo. Like it's kind of cool. You guys are going to see it. So I came up with I've always loved the idea of like the Pro Wrestling Summit back in 91 when it was actually it was 1990 when it was WWF, All Japan, and New Japan. They kind of got little brothered with that thing, but they got kind of thrown in there, and they had a big Tokyo Dome summit, and it was headlined by Hogan versus Hansen in a dream match. So I loved that logo, and I was like, well, what if we kind of finagled it a little bit to come up with our own thing? And I sort of made a very shitty version of a logo. And then Josh from We Work Stiff, who I didn't know this, but it makes sense considering all the really great graphics that they put out there. He works in graphic design, and he was like, let me get a crack at that. And he made some incredible marketing material. So we've got logos, and we got merch that's going to be dropping with this. We're just waiting for Josh, if you're listening, send us those PDFs. So, or whatever you call
PNGs.
PNGs. But we are going to have, we'll have the official dates and times announced on our social media, all of their social media. I'm sure that like Josh will throw that in the Stiff Club. I'm sure that that'll be on the Voices of Wrestling Discord or the Super J Cast Discord. And I don't know what Speaking of Strong Style does. I'm sure they got something. They'll throw it out there too. But if you're gonna be in town the day of Wrestle Kingdom, you're gonna want to be at the pub with us, trading war stories, lamenting about what may happen in the Dome that evening, and hyping ourselves up to believe in the miracle that is Hiroshi Tanahashi walking out of the Dome with the dub. So, and even if that's not believable, we will drink ourselves to the point of belief. Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. We always have fun when we do these fan meetups, and I think it's super cool that we're getting all the big podcasts together and kind of doing a joint effort. And yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I know some people were hoping we would do it maybe after the show or a different day, and it just winds up like the day of Wrestle Kingdom, right before, it seems to be the best time. You know, you want everybody kind of buzzing, and like you mentioned, kind of predicting what's going to go down. And I know if you're a Tokyo Joshi Pro fan, I'm sorry, but I just feel like, it's the best time to do it. And we'll probably get together after the show as well, and maybe a less, even less formal capacity. But we'll be there, so you can come say hi throughout the show or whatever. But
after the show, we got to hit up one of those karaoke bars, bro. But no, I think it's very appropriate that we're going head to head with Tokyo Joshi Pro. I think it fits the theme of what this show is all about, which is men.
From day one.
So if you got tickets to that show, you better sell them bitches, you know what I mean? Or just no show, because you don't want to miss the fan meetup. It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a great time. There's no cover, there's no charge. Just show up and, buy us a drink. That's your cover charge, is buy me and Jeremy a drink. Forget the rest of those fools, but definitely me and Jeremy. And then, and then the last thing. So, like I mentioned, there is going to be merch. I've already found the store where we're going to be doing this. I'm going to open up a store for free through TeePublic. I don't know if you guys know them, but I did the research. They ship basically anywhere in the world. I actually purchased something from TeePublic just very recently, and it came to me like within the week here stateside. So, it's going to be a very short time frame. But I would say if you're going to be there and you'd like this one-time only merch that we're doing, we're basically not going to make any money off of it. We're just going to charge you guys like at cost, essentially, or whatever the store charges. But you'll wait till you see when we finally put out the merch that Josh has designed. It's fucking awesome. You're going to love this design. I definitely am excited about getting my hand on one of those. So it'll be well worth it. You'll want to rep with that. And it'll be a great kind of memento of your time in Japan. Or even if you don't go, you might want this shirt. Like, it's kind of hard.
Yeah, it's cool. All right, well, let's jump into World Tag League coverage. So we got nights 4 through 8 here, 2 nights from the A block, 3 nights from the B block. So we'll start in the A block. We'll start at the top here with Yota, Tsuji, and Gabe Kidd. So they are currently sitting at 3-1 with 6 points. Night 5, Gabe and Tsuji defeating Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi in 9 minutes, 11 seconds. And then on night 7, followed up with another win over Bolton Oleg and Toriano in 16 minutes and 2 seconds. Josh, what are your thoughts on this super team here of Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji?
I think they're doing really good. I wouldn't say that I feel like the team is stellar at this point in time. I mean, like, the early match they had against Drilla and Shingo has clearly been the standout performance of them for them through the course of this tour. These matches with House of Torture and the Hantai team of Oleg Bolton and Yano, they've been good. I wouldn't say that they've been great, but they don't really have to be. You know what I mean? Like, Tsuji, this is essentially like a preview period for him to get ready for his main event or semi-main event, whichever it ends up shaking out for the Tokyo Dome. I feel like him and Gabe have, I don't know if I'd say like, oh, they're like buddy and on the same page, but they're working well as a team. They're both fired up. The crowd, they're giving the fans what they want to see out of a Road to style tag team event involving those two guys. And I do love the finish that they have come up with the clothesline and the Gene Blast simultaneously to put guys away.
Yeah, calling it the War Blaster. Yeah, really great finish there. And like you mentioned, unlike some of the other kind of, quote unquote odd couple teams, like these guys, like there's no miscommunication. They're not fighting. They're not joking around. Like they're being presented as kind of like, a mega powers, kind of a mega team come together. And yeah, they're, I think, pretty much gelling really well together. And, they've only lost one matchup, and that was at their first match against the War Dragons of Drilla and Shingo. And since then, winning the rest of their matches on top of the A block here. And find it very interesting that Gabe Kidd's pretty much been the center of the decisions. He was the one who got pinned in the match against the War Dragons, and then pretty much every other match after they hit the War Blaster, it's Gabe Kidd who's picking up the pinfall. And we kind of speculated that if someone was going to lose, it would be Gabe, and if somebody was going to win, it was going to be Tsuji to build momentum up for him. But it's really been all around Gabe.
I'm not too surprised by that because Tsuji, I mean, think of it this way, right? Anytime you're seeing, not anytime, but a majority of the time when there are major preview tags that are going on throughout the year, the main event guys who are in those matches very rarely either lose or pick up the pinfall. It's usually just a preview for them. Now, this isn't exactly that same thing, but Gabe Kidd doesn't have a date for the Tokyo Dome whatsoever at this point in time. Tsuji does. And all really Tsuji needs to do is go out there and, put in his work, but he doesn't need the wins and he doesn't necessarily want to eat the losses either. So makes sense to me, especially if Kidd is going to do any sort of JOBs, that they would also kind of give him a make good to make him look strong and make up for any losses that he's going to take by allowing him to be the one that comes out standing strong on top. And Tsuji reaps the benefit, but he's not necessarily the one involved in those losses. I will say this though, if Tsuji were to take any pinfall losses of any sort, that might be a key indicator of something that could potentially shake out in the future if he does, in fact, win the double title match at the Tokyo Dome.
Yeah, I mean, even if he doesn't win, he's still the global. I guess that's a double title match, actually.
Nope.
That's right.
This is Warrior Hogan in Toronto, bud.
That's right. Both belts. Yeah. So if he lost it, he wouldn't have the global anymore. So yeah. So this could be potential challengers if anybody does pin him throughout the rest of the league. And we've been seeing a lot of these guys in the main event as well. The Night 7 match was a main event, and we've been seeing, Gabe kind of cutting the rah-rah, Shinihan, Ichiban promos, and a lot more kind of camaraderie there between him and Tsuji and kind of playing around. And there was the one night where Tsuji, after taking the pumping bomber to the throat, his voice, turned into Hanma. And so they were kind of playing around with that and doing Kokeshi stuff afterwards. So, very, friendly kind of banter between these guys, and Gabe Kidd really leaning back into the whole, New Japan's #1 and we're the best. Me and Tsuji are the two top guys of this generation. We're putting New Japan on our back, and, it's all about us. We're going to win World Tag League, all that stuff. So
I do question, though, considering I know that these guys have in storyline a level of respect for one another. And even though they feuded, there's always been the allusions to the fact that they were in the Noge dojo together. They went to war with one another. They wrestled as young lions during the pandemic and the empty arena era. And, that he stayed with Gabe Kidd and his family that Tsuji did when he was overseas in the UK with his Rev Pro excursion. So there is this kind of connective tissue with these guys. All the same, they've had 3 matches this year that were very heated, especially that first one early on. And there is a part of me that wonders if we will see, I don't think it necessarily has to be a miscommunication necessarily, but some level of strife that starts to pop up with either an element of competitiveness or jealousy. I guess it's fine if they just do their thing and they're all good throughout this, but you do kind of have to wonder, with Gabe being someone that has, major singles gold as one of his aspirations, that there wouldn't be some level of competition between these two guys. And that so far hasn't really, come to fruition.
Yeah, and I think it's really easy to kind of spark that fire again with Gabe, being the madman, and literally anything could make him snap at any second. And maybe they, right now they're on top of the block, maybe they get very close to being, A1 or A2 and they get knocked out, or, they get to the semis and then they get knocked out, and Gabe, kind of loses it because that's his one ticket to the Tokyo Dome, and kind of takes that out on Tsuji. And then maybe you can set up, a defense for Tsuji with Gabe coming out of Wrestle Kingdom.
I would like something there. Just it feels like it's low hanging fruit, but it's ripe fruit, and maybe you want to pick it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's Suji, Gabe Kidd. Another team that's sitting on top of the block here, tied with Suji and Gabe Kidd, is the House of Torture team of the never open weight champion Evil and Don Fale. So also sitting at 3-1 with 6 points. So on night 5, they defeated the War Dragons in 13 minutes and 13 seconds. And then on night 7, defeating Satoshi Kojima and Taichi Team 100 in 9 minutes and 18 seconds. And this is pretty much what we expect from Evil and Fale from their matches. There's been a ton of shenanigans, jumping people from the bell. The Kojima and Taichi match, they jumped them throughout the entrance, and so it's just been a lot of the shenanigans and ref bumps and distractions, low blows, and these guys getting the win. So not very entertaining matches with these guys. Obviously, we expected them to keep Evil strong going into this thing. Obviously, he has a big headline match at the Tokyo Dome with one Aaron Wolf. So again, not expecting him to eat many losses, and if anybody would eat a pin, would be Don Fale, which the one loss they did have against Gabe and Suji, it was Fale getting the pin after the War Blaster. But outside of that, Evil's been picking up the wins, and they're keeping Evil strong with his quote-unquote gold medal. He spray painted the Never title gold and is saying he is a gold medalist in the pro wrestling. Yeah, I know you were trying to kick it off to me.
So here's a fun fact. We're gonna jump into some Ziggy talk. So he's an Italian Greyhound, really, really good dog, really, really smart guy, and he's good at going potty outside when he's outside. But these dogs, if you do any research on them, they are virtually impossible to 100% trained to be potty trained outdoors. So what that's kind of necessitated is for us to use indoor pee pads, reusable ones. And it just got super disgusting. So what I did was I found this tray online that has artificial grass, and it simulates what they deal with outside. But this dude has been super apprehensive to commit to using it. He knows to do it, but he kind of needs me to be yo, go on that pad, bro. And he tries to find other places to go instead of there. And I'm like, bro, what are you doing? Go on the grass. And then he does it, but I think he's getting it. So that's what was going on when, speaking of pee and piss, we got the piss poor. It is interesting that, we got 3 teams here sitting at the top of the block with 6 points. All of them have 1 loss. So in the A block, no undefeated teams whatsoever. I agree with everything that you've said about Evil and Don Fale. The one thing I'll add to it is just not anywhere near what you would want or hope. I mean, obviously, you don't expect for a team with Fale and Evil to be spectacular, but this has been very paint by numbers, par for the course. And I'll just get it out of the way. Every single House of Torture team in this tournament has been god awful to fucking watch. I guess you can't really begrudge them too much because we know just how difficult World Tag League can be as far as this tour is a grind, and it's in the middle of December. It's really cold out there in Japan, and these guys are going out there and they're putting their body on the lines, but these guys are using every single fucking shortcut there is across the board. So
yeah, and night 7 was pretty rough as well, because it was pretty much back-to-back matches where both House of Torture teams jumped people from the bell, and all the gimmicks were coming out.
Yeah, and you notice I mentioned that Kojima had taken a night off the night prior to that. So, they did the gimmick where they brought in Kojima from the back and had him beat down, and he was much less involved in the match. So that kind of lends credence to maybe he's a little banged up on this tour. But yeah, I mean, Fale and Evil, it's slow, steady, sucky. It is what it is. But we knew that this was probably bound to be the case, and it's been playing out the way we said it would.
Yeah, so if you're cherry picking, I can't recommend anything from these guys to watch.
No, one last thing though is we did get Show's involvement for the first time as opposed to Dick Togo. So, he's kind of like made his appearance on the tour finally. And then some people like the spray painted gold never title. I'm not here's what I hate about New Japan. I don't like that when the titles get banged up, and they do. And in a Western company, what they typically do is they buy a bunch of belts, and they have ones that are just used on house shows, ones that are just used on TV. And it's not as like necessarily old school where the guy is expected to travel with the belt, yada, yada. There's to some extent, but like in Japan, New Japan buys like one belt and they run that thing into the fucking ground. And I don't necessarily need them to be spending exorbitant amounts to replace the titles, but I just feel like they have the means and the money to do touch-ups on the belts. Like, so instead of spray painting this gold, the title was very, very worn. But if you go back and look at what the Never title looked like in its heyday, it's actually a pretty striking belt. Like, just put some paint on that shit, restore the white, restore the red. Doesn't have to be pristine. It's okay that there's some wear on the gold, but like they let, for like the world title for so many years, there's all these like gems, the gems fall out. They just let the holes be there. And some people are like, I like that. It shows, the lineage and the history. And I'm like, nah, bro, fix that up. That's a meaningful title. Like, show some respect. Like, it's not Tetsuya Naito in 2017,
Yeah. Well, I think the reason they spray painted it was so he can quote unquote call himself a gold medalist as he goes into the Aaron Wolf match.
Yeah, but I'm kind of more just lamenting the overall treatment of the titles. Like, they never restore these things. They never fix them up or replace them hardly ever. I mean, the one person that, Tanahashi replaced the IC belt and he did that out of pocket himself. And it was a cheap reproduction. And then, there was the time when Will Ospreay got his own, version of the IWGP World title, and it looked better than the one that they were using. But yeah.
Well, let's move on to the next team, El Desperado and Tsuji Ishikawa. So they are also sitting at 6 points with Gabe and Tsuji and Evil and Don Fale. So night 5, these guys defeated Kojima and Taichi in 12:15. And then on night 7, big win here, defeating Bishamon in 10 minutes and 35 seconds.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Despi and Shuji Ishikawa have been one of the standouts, surprisingly, of the block. And a lot of that really comes down to the chemistry of, you've got, the power bruiser in Shuji Ishikawa, a guy that has never really been in New Japan before, but has this long history and respect, and he's an imposing figure. And yeah, he's not what he once was, and the age is definitely showing on him, but he's still able to go out there, work smartly, showcase his power, hit people with bombs and huge strikes. And then you got the junior in El Desperado, who's able to mix together his, great technical acumen and speed and kind of make the whole thing work. I do wonder, though, how banged up Desperado is or isn't, because, it's alleged that he's working hurt. Maybe he is. And if that is the case, kind of does make sense a little bit, because Ishikawa does seem to be taking more of these matches to a certain extent. But like, I saw Desperado in one of the preview tags get put into a nasty Boston Crab. And I'm like, that doesn't seem wise for a guy that allegedly has like cracked vertebrae or whatever the fuck. So I don't know, but yeah, they picked up the big win over Bishamon. That was one that would have probably put Bishamon in this tier of guys at this point, but kept them, just shy of the 6 point marker and kind of took their spot.
Yeah, I've really been enjoying this team. I'm not super familiar with Tsuji Ishikawa. I haven't seen a ton of his work, so it's been a lot of fun watching him mix it up with these guys. And like you mentioned, big bruiser, very hard hitter. So when he's in there with like Goto and Yoshihashi, they're both exchanging bombs back and forth. And I love his knee strikes. He does kitchen sinks. He does these big running knees to the gut, and it just looks devastating. He does this great capture, back suplex thing that just grabs them, and there's nowhere for you to go. You're just going down. And so, yeah, he's been a ton of fun to watch. Also, he does this big double stomp from the top. That big guy jumping on people is pretty wild. But yeah, him and Despy have been working really well together. And yeah, Despy with the sprained back, but seems to be working pretty fine. But they do, a lot of teams will kind of work over the back and get some heat on Despy. And then, Despy will make the hot tag over to Ishikawa, and he kind of comes in and cleans house. So, been a very entertaining team. And I think we're kind of curious, how are they going to book this team? You got a junior heavyweight, and then you got an outsider. Are they going to kind of be pin eaters in this block? But as of right now, they're on top of the block. Very interesting. And again, with the semifinal format, they're a team that could easily continue to do well and slide into one of those top 2 spots.
Yeah, if you've never seen Shuji Ishikawa, some matches that are highly recommended. His match with Daisuke Sakamoto from 2015 for the strong title in Big Japan, the World Strong title, that's probably the greatest match of his career. He has a litany of great matches with the Violent Giants and him and Kohei Sato as the Twin Towers. In 2017, him and Kento Miyahara, they've got a 5-star classic from the 48th anniversary of All Japan. That one is that's a Triple Crown match that's well worth your time checking out. And then the last one I'll mention, him and Shingo from the Champions Carnival in 2018. That was that's the best. That's probably the best Shingo match of that tour, just before he signed to New Japan. And that one is, just imagine peak Shuji Ishikawa, peak Shingo Takagi, just going, balls to the wall. So,
yeah. So, yeah, these guys have been awesome and are, doing well in the block here. So, moving on to the next kind of tier of teams that are all sitting at 4 points. First, we'll talk about Bishamon, Hiroki Goto, and Yoshihashi. So, 2-2. Night 5, they defeated Bolton, Oleg, and Toriano. Night 7, losing to Desperado and Ishikawa.
I don't really have too much to say positive or negative in the sense of, it's all positive. They're doing very, very well in the tournament, but it's exactly what you expect from Bishamon at this point in time. They are the most seasoned and experienced tag team in this block, maybe in the entire tournament. And they're just stellar. They have a match formula. It works. They can plug and play pretty much anybody in at any time. It was a shocking defeat that they took to Despy and Shuji Ishikawa. But, prior to that, they were rolling. And I assume that's probably just going to be a temporary setback. And we're very likely on the road to Bishamon being in the playoffs when this is all said and done.
Yeah, I highly expect for these guys to end up in one of the 2 playoff spots. And yeah, they've been very good. It's kind of what you expect from Bishamon. Like you mentioned, that they kind of have their formula of tag matches. And obviously they work really well together. And I think, Goto still getting pretty good reactions and still kind of seen as a top star in the current crop of the roster. So I definitely think you want to capitalize on that, have him go into at least the playoffs. And I wouldn't be surprised if they had a Bishamon win again. You need something for Goto to do at the Dome, and I don't really foresee any kind of singles match coming up for him. So the tag title match could be a good spot to have him in, and kind of doing Bishamon versus Knockout Brothers or some kind of multi-man could be pretty cool.
One thing, too, to take note of as we're getting a little bit deeper into the block here. So these guys are sitting at 4 points. There's only 3 more nights remaining of block play action. And most of these teams are somewhat, not completely, but somewhat on the chopping block. You take, when you're getting to the point where we're 4 nights in, they've got 4 points. That means it's 2-2. At most, they could suffer one more win and potentially stay alive. But like, if you take that third loss, the chances of you getting eliminated are exponentially higher at this point in time. And then if you take 4, it's done deal. So, it seems like the math is going to need to math here a little bit for some of these guys to get through.
Yeah, I think with the semifinal format, you have a little bit more leniency to eat 4 losses and still potentially get that A2 spot.
With 4, I don't think so. I think you have to be at least, I think you're going to need to be 4-3 to get through, personally.
We'll see. I think in G1 we saw some guys that 8, like 4. I think Finley got in to the semifinals with 4 losses.
But there's 10 men in that block.
Mm-hmm. How many? There's
only 8.
That's true. It's smaller field here.
It's a smaller field. I don't think they can take 4 losses and get through. I think if you eat 4, you're absolutely done. If you eat another loss and you're one of these 4-point teams here, depending on unless you've beaten some really strong teams where you can get some significant tiebreakers, and even then it might still not, you're still kind of counting on those first 3 teams, which are all pretty strong teams, or at least the Don Fale, Evil, and Suji Gabe Kidd. Those are strong teams. You're going to have wins over them and hope for them to take losses if you're a little bit further down here.
Yeah. So another team sitting at 4 points, Toriano and Bolton Oleg. So night 5, like we mentioned, losing to Bishamon. And then on a night 7, they lost to Gabe and Suji. So this was a team that was on a roll at first, won their first 2, and now have lost their last 2. And a team that we said could potentially get into the semifinals just because of, Yano kind of pulls the quick ones, and they've been pushing Bolton this year. But now they're kind of backsliding going into the midpoint of the tournament.
Yeah, there used to be a point in time where you would look at a Toriano tour for World Tag League and the shenanigans he was pulling and being like, man, he's bringing down the entire block, blah, 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 all of these antics. But in this era of House of Torture, this is, it's a little refreshing. It's like, well, at least he's not doing all this shit. You know what I mean?
Right. And even so, he's not, we haven't really seen the tape, busted out or,
nope.
I mean, he's pulling the pads off, but that's like every match. He's not really going into the deep Yano antics here.
There was some comedy with him and Gabe Kidd where they were doing hair pulling on the night prior, and Gabe doesn't have any hair. So kind of making fun of the fact that he's bald, and that didn't sit well with Gabe. And then shout out to Gabe Kidd. He got hit with the low blow, the monitor goes out, and the roll up, and that was a very believable near fall, and he kicked out, which was like, how often do you ever see that happen with Yano,
Yeah. And I also believe it was that match where Yano got pissed off on the outside and kind of went back into, death match Yano a little bit and was using the red folding chair and was like yelling, getting frustrated with these guys.
Yeah, we've seen a little bit of the vicious side of Yano coming out, especially in that match. But, Oleg Bolton, he's there. He's doing his thing, powerhouse guy, throwing people around, being very athletic. I'm hoping they've got something very good and creative in store for him going into next year. But you never know. I mean, the points could play out in a way where they do, like we've alluded to, get through to the playoffs. But at this point in time, I'm not feeling super positive for their chances.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these teams that are sitting at 4, like you were mentioning, 4 points, a lot of them are probably not going to be making their way up the block. It's kind of a do or die going into the next week. Like when we come back next week, like these guys, there's gonna be like 5 more nights, and these guys are gonna have to pretty much pick up wins on these nights to stay truly alive going into the playoffs. So another team sitting at 4 points, the War Dragons, Shingo Takagi and Drilla Maloney. On night 5, they lost to Evil and Fale in 13-13, and then on night 7, defeating Chase Owens and Yujiro in 9:55.
This is another team that I would say probably, in my estimation, I've been very impressed with the consistency of Bishamon, and I've found Desperado and Shuji Ishikawa to be refreshing. But of all the teams in the block that are working the hardest, having the best matches and the best performances in A block, it's easily Shingo and Drilla.
Yeah, I've been loving Shingo and Drilla. They just gel so well together. That hard hitting, never style. These guys, throwing people around, barking in each other's faces, doing the kita together. Like, they just very quickly became a really solid tag team. And, I would love to see them continue teaming going into next year. I don't know how the whole, War Dogs unaffiliated stuff is going to shake out. But, I mean, this is kind of like they stumbled upon, like, gold right here. Like, this is such an incredible tag team. And, again, their double team finisher is great as well. And so these guys have just been, mowing through people with their power. And
it's basically just Coriolis, though, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah. It's a they call it the what do they call theirs? I think they call it. It's also called the War Dragon, I think. But yeah, it's a double, made in Japan. So yeah, kind of like the Aussie Open Coriolis. But yeah, they're killing people with that, and yeah, they're very entertaining to watch. And unfortunately, they had back-to-back nights of House of Torture here, and so they kind of fell to the antics of Evil and Fale on night 5, but night 7 they were able to get some revenge and take it out on Chase and Yujiro, even though they tried to use the branding iron and do all their tricks, but Shingo and Drilla were able to overcome that House of Torture team,
which is essentially what we had predicted last week. We thought, yeah, they're probably going to eat one to Evil and Fale to keep them strong. And then we were lamenting. We're like, is there any chance they could also fall to, and we're like, no, they need to keep them completely at no wins. And that's exactly what happened. So good on them. But now that they've got the dark days of the tournament out of, in their rear view, I'm looking forward to the remainder of their tournament.
Yeah. And this is a team I could see soaring this coming week. Again, Shingo, he's a guy that's been the main event of the Tokyo Dome. He is usually in some kind of big match, never title match kind of a deal, and he has nothing yet. And we've seen the elevation of Drilla. So, again, these are two guys that I would think you want to factor into the Dome card somewhere. And so, yeah, this could be, again, another team that gets to the playoffs, gets to the finals, and even could win, because you want these guys featured in something at the Dome.
Possibly, yeah.
And then moving on, we have one team sitting at 2 points. That is Team 100 of Taichi and Satoshi Kojima, 1-3. So night 5, losing to Despi and Ishikawa in 12-15. And then on night 7, losing to Fale and Evil in 9-18.
Taichi's working his ass off. He's doing everything he can. Kojima is he's a shell of his former self, but he's getting his spots in and entertaining the crowd. I'm going to call it right now. They're done. I know they're not officially done, but at 1-3, I just don't see it. I've got them. I know they're on the bubble, but for all intents and purposes, I think, Team 100's done.
Yeah, they would need some really, really great tiebreakers and some magic to happen for them to get through to the A2 spot. Yeah, and they've been fine to watch. Again, also Taichi doing a lot of the heavy load for that team. But I mean, I think again they've gelled really well together. There has been a little dissension between them post match after losses, but for the most part, it seems like they're kind of mended fences and are trying their best to work together here.
Yeah, and I mean the night 5 match was one we all looked forward to for the aforementioned reasons. The Suzuki-gun / Kojima-gun elements, and then seeing Ishikawa and Kojima, kind of lock up in the chop battle, but they fell to House of Torture, and I think they're done.
Yeah. And then the last team sitting with 0 points, 0-4, Yujiro Takahashi and Chase Owens. Night 5, losing to Gabe Kidd and Tsuji. Night 7, losing to the War Dragons. And it's like we said last week, this team should not win anything. And so far, that's the case.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're kind of just looking at a team that you got to be on the lookout for wins that might come for the remainder of these last 3 nights for them, because they could easily play spoiler to anybody else that they have, on their calendar. We're going to go over those upcoming nights here shortly. Chase really trying to lean into his, West Texas redneck / Terry Funk heritage with the branding iron, but I don't think the aesthetic really works for him. And he was on commentary one of these nights saying that the reason that they haven't won is him and Yujiro. They're just a little bit ring rusty. They haven't teamed together in a while. So, they're trying to get the mojo back, but they're done, which is good. So,
yeah, the best they could, if they won their last 4, that would put them at 8 points. And so, yeah, they would need a lot of people.
Well, they don't have 4 more. They got 3 more.
Oh, yeah, because there's 8 teams. Yeah, so with 3 more, so that's 6 points is the best, they can get to.
And with that being said, oftentimes this year we have questioned the creative, the booking, and sometimes something will happen in this company that will just restore an eensy beatsy amount of faith that you have in the booking. And this is one of those things where you're like, all right, Gato, I see you.
I see you. I appreciate you. Yeah, and these guys have pretty much been getting mollywopped throughout the tournament. They try all the antics. They try the branding iron. They try the low blow and all this stuff, and it all just backfires, and they get killed, and it's awesome.
They're the one House of Torture team where their shenanigans just do not pay off, and that's well and good, Yeah. So thanks, Kakooch.
Well, let's jump over to the B block now. So on top of the B block, sitting at 6 points, the only team with 6 points here, 3-1, is the House of Torture team of Sonata and Sold Out Ren Narita. So on night 4, they defeated the current IWGP Tag Champs, the Knockout Brothers. And then on night 6, they defeated the TMDK team of Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, they took their win away. And then on night 8, they also defeated David Finlay and Hiromu Takahashi with Gato at 14:02. So big week for Sonata and Ren Narita. And, I'm not that surprised by it. When we talked about dark horse teams that might have a good chance at going far in the tournament, Sonata and Ren Narita was at the top of my mind because, Sonata, former IWGP champion, former, top title contender, but a guy who has extensively thrived when it comes to the tag team element of his career. Ren Narita, one of those Reiwa guys who they've given big shots to, but he's never been able to pull the trigger. But he even beat, at the time, IWGP champion Zack Sabre Jr. in the G1 this year. So you kind of feel like these are 2 guys that, for better or for worse, the company has some level of trust and aspiration to push. And yeah, I don't love their matches at all. I'm kind of sick and tired of, the spitting of the whiskey and the guitar shots and the push-up bar and the nut shots and kicking the rope when guys are trying to get in. It's a lot. But at the same time, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, it's kind of what you would expect. And yeah, it's awful. Literally every match, yeah, it's one of those things. You mentioned showed up with the wrench, and they're doing that also. It's just like, so it's just all the gimmicks, all the interference, all the cheating. That night 8 match against Finlay and Hiromu was just one of the worst, and
it was a lot.
Yeah, Finlay was handcuffed to the barricade in that one, and so he's sitting on the outside, and they're just getting the heat on Hiromu, and you feel like in a match layout like that, all right, they're getting all this heat on Hiromu. Finlay's gonna break free, and they're gonna win eventually, and it's gonna backfire. But nope. Finlay got free. Daiki Nagai was able to get the keys to Gato, and Finlay got free, and but nope, they couldn't outmaneuver all shenanigans, and they still lost.
My whole thing is like, what the fuck was Gato doing in the back? Why did it take him 8 minutes? Whatever. But yeah, it is what it is. The night 6 match over Narita or over Oiwa and Zack, that was a big one because they were undefeated in the block up to that point, and then they took that from them, and that's when we got to the point where there were no undefeated teams in the block, and then moving forward, no undefeated teams in either block. So for the entirety of the tournament. So it is what it is. I don't have much more to say about these guys. I do think it is a possibility that they've had some big wins. So it is a possibility that they make it to the playoffs, but I'm kind of hoping that they just get edged out down the end,
Yes. Same feeling here, but they love to put at least one House of Torture team or person in these playoff scenarios to kind of build that quote unquote heat and hope that they don't win and kind of waste a spot there. So I don't want them to go through. I don't want them to go through, but I could easily see them being A1, A2 and going through.
House of Torture is like Ric Flair. You don't got to like it, but you better learn to live with it.
Yeah. So now we go into the next tier of teams that are all sitting at 4 points. So first we got David Finlay and Hiromu Takahashi. So on night 4, they defeated ELP and Tanahashi in 15:42. Night 6, they lost to Monster Sauce in 9:01. And then on night 8, they lost to Narita and Sonata in 14:02.
Yeah, Hiromu taking the pinfalls here. They've continued the trend of David Finlay manhandling Hiromu and using him as a battering ram and tossing him around. But unlike some other teams, like say Monster Sauce, where they might do a smidge of that, this is starting to become something where like Hiromu is not rocking with it. He's getting fucking annoyed, but Finlay don't give a fuck. Like he's like Honey Badger. With that being said, they're still having some success in the tournament. We have talked about how, it is possible, just given the names involved, that it's not impossible that they get a berth into the playoffs. But the way that this is playing out, and this is just my gut instinct with all the kind of like, it's not necessarily but it doesn't scream, these guys are on the same page, they're going to have a lot of success down the stretch. I think we're going to get to a point where they drop at least one more and maybe get themselves out of contention.
Yeah, and there is a lot of miscommunication, or Finlay's been saying that the points are his points and that he's sharing them with Hiromu. And so there's a lot of kind of still contention. They're not gelling as well as the War Dragons or Gabe Kidd and Tsuji. So I could see that miscommunication or lack of getting on the same page costing them in the end. And Finlay and Hiromu are guys like maybe this does build to a singles match for them at the Dome. If they don't get to the finals here and wind up anywhere else, I could see them maybe going in that direction.
It was funny to see like Hiromu trying to square off with like say Lance Archer, especially during the preview tag. Like just it's not going to work, Brad. But speaking of Hiromu, the match on night 4 with them versus ELP and Tanahashi, super heated when it came to the interactions with Tanahashi, had words for him. And then in the post match, really building up the idea that like, this is your retirement tour. It's your final match, but don't forget, it's not just you versus old foe, Rainmaker Okada. It's New Japan versus AEW. And if you're going to be the president of the company and represent this company, you better win for the company against this invader, basically.
Yeah. So very impassioned promo there from Hiromu.
And I don't know if that was something that was like, because we always wonder, is this a creative direction? Are they getting, told by creative to say these things? Or if this is just,
shoot.
Hiromu, shooting at the hip, brother.
Yeah. So we'll see if any more comments come out from anybody else on the roster. So moving on, we have the IWGP Tag Team Champions, the Knockout Brothers, Oscar and Yuto Ice, also sitting at 4 points. Night 4, losing to Narita and Sonata in 16:22. And then they started on the comeback trail here. Night 6, defeating ELP and Tanahashi in 16:43. Night 8, defeating Callum Newman and Great O'Khan in 12:18.
Yeah, people very livid at this team taking their first 2 losses back to back at the start of the tournament. We had comments about it in our Discord. I saw, outrage on the Twitter machine. And I personally, I don't know. I've just watched enough New Japan where it's like, I know Gato's classic booking, and it's like, one of his 2 most popular stories are guys that start off strong and then falter down the end, or guys that start off weak and then they have to like fight back from behind. And that's exactly what we're seeing here with Oscar and Yuto Ice. It is a good thing that this is a block with only 7 opponents, because if it was 9 opponents, they might have eaten 3 losses back to back.
Yeah.
And really angered people. I think that they are the strong comparison point at this point in time for, in the A block, you got Bishamon as like the most consistent, well combined tag team. And while Oscar and Yuto Ice clearly have not teamed for near the length of time that those guys have, they are the most established tag team. They're the champions. They're very consistent night in and night out. But the difference here between them and Bishamon is like this, they're still new, they're fresh, it's exciting. And to kind of see them develop into this strong tag team has sort of been, the exciting point of what's happening night over night.
Yeah, they have been very entertaining, and I kind of get some of the people's complaints about them losing, but I think it makes a ton of sense. You need to set up challengers for them. Like if they just steamroll this thing and win the league, like then there's like, who do they face going forward, especially in a New Japan where you don't have a lot of quote unquote normal tag teams. We have a lot of mixed match right now in this league, and so I think it's a good thing that they ate a couple losses. You can set some challengers up for them, kind of show a little bit of vulnerability and just kind of a little bit of lack of experience in a tournament league like this. But now they're coming back. I expect them to still make it into the playoffs as the champions and going strong, or at least if they don't make the playoffs, some kind of tiebreaker where they have the same amount of points as the guys going into the playoffs, but get knocked out that way. But I expect to see them win a lot more the next week than lose.
Well, they already took a loss to Ren Narita and Sonata, who are at the top of the block. And the team we're about to discuss, Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Oiwa, also took a loss to that team. And those are 2 of the stronger teams in the block that have both fallen to that House of Torture iteration. And if it does come down to points, with them being so far in the block, that might even just already this early spell doom for all of us who are wishing that they don't, that House of Torture doesn't go through. It's like they've already got the tiebreaker over KOB. They already got the tiebreaker over TMDK. That might, put the writing on the wall.
Yeah. But yeah, Knockout Brothers have been great. Again, we've been singing the praise of Yuto Ice. I feel like he's just been a standout in these matches. Like he finds a way to have beef with everybody, and he's hard hitting, ton of charisma, and so he's been really standing out to me in this tour.
Finally got the big win over Tanahashi, by the way.
Yeah, that's right. They kind of built up to that match. And Anjo, and he had a loss there. So yeah, got a little bit of revenge here. Hit the KOB on Tanahashi, got the pin over Tanahashi, got some revenge there. And Knockout Brothers are rolling on, build up some momentum, 2 in a row. So we'll see if they can carry that momentum on to this week.
One other team we're going to talk about here shortly, but they faced United Empire on night 8. And there's this ongoing story of the new kind of heelish tactics and attitude coming out of United Empire with Cal Newman. And I found it so humorous at the points in the match where he decided to steal the taunts from one Yuto Ice.
Yeah, that was funny. And those guys had a great kick exchange in the match, Callum and Yuto Ice. So yeah, they were killing each other with kicks, and Yuto's chest was all red and bruised at the end of that one. So a lot of great exchanges between those 2 guys. And I thought Yuto and Ocon had some great exchanges too. So that was a really fun matchup there.
Yeah. And I feel like, real quick before we move on, I don't want to sell Oscar short. I think he's really excelling in this big man role. And when he first came back, we were just kind of seeing a little bit of like the generic big man moves, but I feel like he's kind of like finding new wrinkles to add to the game. And they're finding their footing not that they weren't good when they first got back, they were, but they're finding their footing to figure out where their roles and how they structure their matches to kind of maximize their efforts.
Yeah.
Many supplements on the market are hard to absorb or packed with fillers, but that's not the case with Quicksilver Scientific. Quicksilver Scientific is a U.S.-based company that manufactures advanced liposomal supplements, making nutrients easier for your body to absorb and put to work quickly. Made in Colorado in an NSF GMP certified facility and rigorously tested, this is science-first supplementation. After adding ultravitamin into my routine, recovery feels faster and I don't hit that midday crash anymore. Trusted worldwide for supplements that truly make a difference in performance, resilience, and well-being. Quicksilver Scientific makes advanced liposomal supplements so you can actually feel the difference. Energy, focus, calm, recovery. Get 10% off plus free shipping at tryqs.com/podcast. That's tryqs.com/podcast. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
So then moving on to another team at 4 points from TMDK, Zack Sabre Jr. and Rhea Oiwa. Night 4, they defeated Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura in 23-28. Night 6, losing to Narita and Sonata in 14:04. And then on night 8, losing to ELP and Tanahashi in 22:10.
Yeah, this is a team that started off very strong and then has eaten back-to-back losses and kind of put them in trouble. That being said, the same way how I had mentioned in the A block, I feel like War Dragons is the, night over night standout quality tag team. Zack and Oiwa are in that boat again, which is not a surprise because even though they didn't have a great points total in last year's World Tag League, they were far and away the MVPs when it came to match quality and work rate of any team in that tournament. One thing I love about what they're doing is we've talked about how arduous and difficult and a grind World Tag League can be. So there's a lot of teams that are going out there, they're working hard, but they're kind of just like having their match. They're getting their shit in that they normally do. There's not a lot of variance with a lot of these teams and what they do. Zack and Oiwa are not like that whatsoever. They're doing different things every night. They're finding new and creative ways to work. It does feel like up to this point, Zack has had a stellar year. It might not sound like it on paper when people talk about like, oh, Zack, but like he's probably had more great matches in the company than anybody else other than maybe Konosuke Takeshita. And he held the title twice in the calendar year. Like he's got a very strong argument for Wrestler of the Year, whether people want to acknowledge that or not.
Yeah, main event to the Dome twice in a row and won.
He's the only foreigner to have ever done that in history. And, Oiwa seems like he's kind of taken a step back in terms of like the focus and everything like that. But Zack is doing everything in his power to make that guy shine night over night. And I love that the kind of finish that they're going with where Zack is getting a lot of the pinfalls, but when they do win, but it's Oiwa who's hitting the new and improved version of the
grip,
which basically is not, the ripcord anymore. It's just kind of him just hitting the
discus
clothesline. And then Zack is rolling people up off of that to kind of just add a little bit of a cherry to it. But really the guy that's getting the finish, even though he's picking up the pinfalls, it's Oiwa's finish that they're putting over when they do that.
Yeah, and Oiwa's knocking people's heads off, and Zack just rolls them up nice and neat. And so they've been, like you mentioned, very entertaining team to watch. They've had a lot of ring time. You look at their timing here, that match with Umino and Uemura, just over 23 minutes, and then the match with ELP and Tanahashi 22-10. So these guys are, ring warriors of this block, putting in a lot of ring time and have been very entertaining. And again, Zack's a guy you think has to have a spot somewhere on the Tokyo Dome card. I don't see them, just shoving him in like the 6-man rainbow. So even though they have 8-2 losses and could potentially be on the chopping block here, especially losing to Narita and Sonata, I expect this to be a team that surges and could potentially get into the tag title match.
I would love that. This is a team that I'm very high on, and I have high aspirations for Oiwa. I know that we've been critical of aspects of how he's been used or how he's presented himself since he's returned, but he's an incredible talent with an incredible look and a guy that I think can really be super meaningful for New Japan going forward. And I think a tag team with Zach makes all the sense in the world for a guy like him to kind of get established. If you have gone back and you've watched, or not watched, but listened to my Tanahashi Ace of the Universe series in those early years from like 03 to like 05-ish, Tanahashi was a guy who, even though he's not known as a tag team star, primarily, he had very meaningful tag teams with guys like seniors like Yutaka Yoshi and Yuji Nagata that helped establish him with that mentorship role early on to get his footing while he found himself as a singles competitor. And I feel like the team with Zack Sabre Jr. could do the same thing for Oiwa long term. Mm-hmm. So I would love for these guys to not just be the workhorses of the block, but guys that kind of come back from underneath and are able to thrive and excel and maybe even go far in the tournament. The last thing I'll say, that match with ELP and Tanahashi just fucking rocked.
Yeah, that was awesome. Really great main event there.
And I don't know if anybody else can give that to ELP and Tanahashi. Not that ELP and Tanahashi aren't good. They are. But, there's limitations with what Tanahashi is able to do at this point in time, especially considering we're so close to the Dome. And obviously the chemistry between him and Zach has always been there. Mm-hmm. And I felt like they gave them something really special last night. Yeah.
And something else I want to note too, Zach in a lot of the post-match comments has mentioned, that he's never won a World Tag League. He's been tag team champions, has tag team success, but never winning the World Tag League. So again, that's a goal for him that he's aiming for. So I think kind of mentioning that, maybe that does lean into, he's had a big year, and what better way to top it off than winning his first World Tag League.
Well, think about it. It's the only tournament in New Japan that other than obviously some people, well, now he's not a junior, but for many years, I would have argued he was in fact a junior.
Yeah.
But he's never competed in the junior division in New Japan. So, you got to take tag league or junior tag league and best of super juniors off the table. And then when you leave us with what's left in the regular calendar year for New Japan, it's like he's won New Japan Cup. He's won the G1. He's won the big belt. He's held the TV title. I can't recall. Did he ever hold the Intercontinental or the US? I don't think he has.
No, I don't think he did.
So, that kind of Grand Slam status has still kind of eluded him. But like you said, he's had the tag titles and he's had a lot of success. But this is the one last tournament that means anything in New Japan that he's eligible for that he still hasn't won. And considering like how great a tag team him and Taichi were for so many years, the fact that they never were able to pick up a World Tag League win is a little, I guess, not super surprising. I guess if you went back, it would probably make sense, but it's probably in kayfabe a goal he has.
Yeah. So another team sitting at 4 points, the United Empire team of Great Okan and the Prince Callum Newman. Night 4, they defeated Monster Sauce in 901. Night 6, defeating Umino and Uemura in 15-18. And then Night 8, losing to the Knockout Brothers in 12-18.
So the big story surrounding, we already kind of knew this going into it, that there was these signs of frustration and impatience when it came to Cal Newman being dissatisfied with the structure and the slotting of United Empire and sort of just like where they are as a whole. And that really started to come even further out during this tour. We started to see like more viciousness coming from Cal Newman. And then on one of these nights, I forget, it might have been night 4.
Yeah, I think it was the Monster Sauce match. Yeah.
They were able to pick up a win when Jacob Austin Young was on the outside and tripped Alex Zane and opened up the door for Callum Newman to capitalize. And he's been picking up wins on this tour with double stomps. And, so they're kind of leaning into heel tendencies. I don't know if Great Khan like necessarily rocks with it, but he's always kind of towed the line of being vicious and not really giving a fuck anyway. So,
yeah.
But I don't know where this story is headed. We did get Callum Newman on commentary on night 7, and he was kind of dismissive of some of the allegations about what was happening with them. And he even made the comment, like, I'm not the leader of the United Empire. So,
yeah. Yeah, so it's been interesting. I've been liking the edge, and it seems like they're kind of leaning a little bit into the kind of the Prince Devitt aesthetic. He dropped the Prince of Pace. He's just the Prince. He's got the leather jacket. He's doing the double foot stomp. So they're kind of leading a little bit that way of kind of a Devitt-like presentation, and just more of that heel edge, being more aggressive, being more of a dickhead. Relying on Jacob Austin Young on the outside to call shots. And like I mentioned earlier, the kick exchange between him and Yuto Ice was awesome, and just really kind of getting in the face and the head of Yuto Ice and talking a lot more trash. And so, 2-2 here. So not quite top of the block, but doing pretty good so far. I mean, they have to really pick it up this week if they want to advance. But I do think there is an interesting story here on where the Empire is going to go. Is it going to lead to maybe Okan's, is he going to get booted out? Is he going to rock with Callum? Are they going to, bring new people in? Are they going to get people from other factions? Right now, it's very interesting. I think it can go a lot of different ways.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate necessarily I like what you mentioned, that he's getting a bit of an edge, but I don't know that it works to just throw Prince Devitt-esque, looks on him. Like we already saw early on when people were so critical of Callum Newman as a quote unquote Will Ospreay light, right? Mm-hmm. So then now they're starting to throw some sort of, these gimmicks on him that allude back to Prince Devitt. But the thing with Prince Devitt was like, this is no knock on Callum Newman. I think Callum Newman is a fantastic talent, but like Prince Devitt was a prodigious talent who worked really, really, really hard who came through the dojo. I don't know if people remember when he first came in, he was a kind of a little bit of a fluffy guy. He had a good UK pedigree, but he wasn't. When you look at Prince Devitt these days, and for all these years, this guy looks like he's never eaten a carb. He's just shredded.
Yeah.
That's not what he looked like when he got to New Japan. And, he had to find himself, and he was an injury prone guy that was on the shelf many times, where they kind of wrote him off for a bit, and he wasn't someone that they felt like they could really trust. And he was able to make himself more durable, work on his body, rehab himself, and then find himself as literally the face and ace of the junior division for many, many years. Like, it wasn't like they were like, how can we get this guy over? Let's surround him with the Bullet Club and let's put the Prince Devitt aesthetic on him and turn him into this bad guy. That's not what happened. He was a guy who was already a top junior superstar who was the top of the group or of that division for many years. And then they pivoted at the height of him being the top junior star that there was. And it was a huge risk and a huge gamble to take this guy who was beloved and carved out a niche for himself and really didn't necessarily have to do that. I mean, I'm sure he was, ambitious enough to want more than just being the top junior, but he was in a cushy spot where he really didn't need to do that. And there was no guarantee in the early days that Bullet Club was ever going to be what it wound up being.
Yeah.
But the reason I say all that is to say, like, that wasn't a Hail Mary to try and fix or make the guy. he was already made and they were trying something fresh, new, and exciting. We've seen when other, like for instance, El Phantasmo, they tried to kind of take some of those same aesthetics and put that on him, and it didn't pan out because it wasn't earned. And I don't know that in this case that it's necessarily earned or that you even want to be alluding to a star of the past who maybe, I don't know their history. Maybe they have some sort of connection, both being from, the UK. I don't know, but I don't know that that necessarily works when you're trying to build a guy who's basically an unproven commodity. Like he's not a guy that's proven the way Devitt was by the time they went that way with him.
Yeah. And I kind of wish they would have allowed him to spend some time in the junior division. I know he was obviously a lot smaller when he came in, and for whatever reason, they never put him in Best of Super Junior or had him really work Junior Tag League, and now he's obviously bulked up as a heavyweight now. But I really feel like Callum could have benefited from spending some more time in the junior and really capitalizing on the whole Prince of Pace thing and being such a fast worker and really kind of build that rep before kind of being thrusted into the heavyweight division and kind of trying to find his footing. It feels like somebody told him, like, brother, there's money in the heavyweights. That's where you want to go. Right. Eat this chonko, hit these weights. And I think he's doing good work. He's trying to find his footing. Kind of agree with what you said. Like, yeah, maybe going the Prince Devitt route, like at least alluded to it, is maybe not the best route, but I am digging the heel edge, the being more of a dickhead, and at least we're getting a direction now. We're getting something, a new character direction. We're getting a new spin with the United Empire. So this is the most intriguing thing that's happened with the group all year. So hopefully it leads to something good, and it's just the beginning with this guy.
Here's one other last thing I'll say about that. I agree with you. Like, we've been begging for freshness to be delivered when it comes to how these guys are presented, their motivations, who they are, yada yada. So I'm all for a switch up. I'm all for an edge, a toughness, that sort of thing. But like, the thing that made Prince Devitt work in 2013 was nobody had ever done what Prince Devitt was doing in New Japan. I mean, yes, you could say to an extent it's a riff off of the NWO and DX to some extent, but he made that the real rock and roller, that whole thing.
Real.
Like, him getting carried out to the ring by Fale, being on his shoulders, his bouncer and all that stuff. That was, and then the light up jacket. These were all fresh ideas that he came up with concerning his own character that were authentic to him. And they worked because it was new. And I feel like that's what guys need to be doing, is figure out ways to do something new. You don't want to be a rehash of some other guy. You want to be the best Callum Newman heel, whatever that looks like that you possibly can be.
Yeah. So we got a question here from MJ. The thoughts on United Empire rebuild storyline so far? I'm with it for now, but would hate for them to be a House of Torture light faction.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know if New Japan is necessarily in the place where they need another heel faction. Maybe with whatever's happening between unaffiliated War Dogs, that opens up the spot for a new heel aligned group. I don't know, but I am interested to see where they're going with the creative on this. At the same time, they're going to run into the issue that we talked about last week without rehashing the whole thing. Who's the leader? That's the big question. Unless it's going to lead to a disillusion of the group and we're going in a whole new direction, whether that be an amalgamation with another group, a splintering, or a whole new faction, whatever that may look like. But if they remain UE, who's going to lead it? And I don't know the answer to that. I don't think they have that guy right now in that group.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned last week, like Callum Newman's kind of in that like Carl Anderson position where by default he kind of got put in that leader spot, but wasn't really quite the guy to lead the faction. And you had AJ Styles come in and take over. And so I don't think Callum is quite at that spot yet to fully take over and lead, even though that kind of seems where it's going. So I feel like, maybe you do need another top guy to come in and really, if they're going to stay UE, kind of go that direction. Or, you just blow the faction up. Because, I mean, at this point, it's just on screen of three of these guys. Hanare's hurt. Akira's hurt. TJP's gone. Cobb's gone. So, Templario's mainly in Mexico. MJ saying Hanare could be the leader.
I mean, I don't hate. I love Hanare, but I don't think he could be the leader personally.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't mind if they just end up blowing the group up and you have these guys go different ways and end up in different factions, or you kind of create new units with the remainder of this faction.
I agree.
So moving on, also with 4 points, Shota Umino and Yuya Uemura. Night 4, they lost to Oiwa and Saber. Night 6, they lost to Callum Newman and Great Okan. And then night 8, they rebounded with a win over Monster Sauce in 14-10.
If I think TMDK is the top standout tag team of the tournament, then I would hold Umino and Uemura in that 1B spot. They're very close in terms of performance. That night 4 match where they faced one another is one of the top 2 matches in the entire tournament thus far, which speaks to what we were talking about earlier, that this has already been especially the B block is just mopping the A block.
Yeah.
But that was a really, I mean, I think when everything's said and done, that's still going to be a top 5 at worst match of the tournament. And that one was really standout. Again, not to belabor the point, still got questions about where they're going with the Umino Uemura stuff, and kind of similar to like what I mentioned with Suji and Gabe. They haven't really fully locked into whatever that may look like, if there is going to either be a greater level of, camaraderie and teamship, or whether that's going to mean a future rivalry that's born out of this. I don't know, but they're having standout matches every night, and they're over. The crowd is loving them.
Yeah, they have been great. And this has been a solid week for them. The TMDK match was awesome. I enjoyed the match with Newman and Okan, and the Monster Sauce match was very entertaining as well. So yeah, these guys are the 1B workhorses, been gelling really well together. Umino's trying to grow the hair back. He's kind of in the awkward phase right now, but he's trying to get that ace hair like he had when he first came back from excursion.
Bro, if Umino and Uemura were to both grow the mains back out, we're talking about an all-time tag team here. We're talking,
yeah.
We're talking Robert and Ricky, Rock and Roll Express level of, I won't get too vulgar, but like slaying it every night, these two guys.
Yeah. And, I really enjoyed the Monster Sauce matchup. Yeah, he had Umino the whole match trying to body slam Lance Archer. And finally, towards the end of the match, he was able to do that. And then you had Uemura really cranking in the Kimura on Zayn throughout the match, and eventually using the deadbolt suplex to get the win there. And so, yeah, I think they're gelling really well together. They're kind of in the right spots for each other. And yeah, it's again 2 guys that you think gotta be in the dome somewhere. Umino literally main event to the dome last year. Uemura had a big singles match last year as well. So you think again, this could be a team that surges. I mean, there's so many teams in this B block, which is why I call, Narita, it's not kind of a wasted spot if they get through, because there's so many teams in this B block that you gotta think need to be on the dome somewhere. And so again, I feel like it's a team that could surge this coming week.
Of all the team, hypothetically, that would be a great tag team name for these guys. Yes.
Oh man.
if hypothetically you did wind up with Sonata and Narita as being, the de facto House of Torture heel team that gets through, then I could see Umino and Uemura being the perfect foil on the other side of the B block to get through. And even though they're in that 2-2 spot, and there's so many teams that are, it's very even right now. They're the ones that I feel are most likely out of all of these teams to get a berth into the playoffs. Personally, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, and I think a tag team would be a great spot for them in the interim until they continue to kind of figure out themselves and try to find their footing as singles guys, kind of similar to Oiwa, like you mentioned, teaming with Zach. So yeah, I think being in a tactile spot, like having these guys win the tag, be the ones who beat KOB. I mean, they lost to KOB already, so it could be some redemption for them to come back, get a rematch, and beat KOB and get the tag titles. So moving on to the next team that's at 4 points, Monster Sauce, Big Lance Archer and the Sauce Alex Zane. Night 4, losing to United Empire in 901. Night 6, defeating Finley and Hiromu in 901. And then on night 8, they lost to Umino and Uemura in 1410.
Yeah, this is a team that could easily have been at the top of the block, but they took a couple, losses, and both of them kind of felt slightly like banana peelish. Mm-hmm. And this is a dominant, imposing tag team, very athletic. They've been so much fun. Obviously, we've kind of talked about the fact that even though they are established as a tag team, and even though they're so much fun to watch, they're not New Japan guys, like domestically speaking. So the chances of them like racking up the points and getting all the way through is highly unlikely. Could they get to the playoffs? It's not impossible. I'm not counting on it, but I love Monster Sauce.
Yeah, they are such an awesome tag team. I love the music. I love their entrance gear. Their double team moves have been great. I love the blackout sauce they've been doing. They're such a great team, and it really stinks that it's not a permanent thing. And Archer's in the Don Callis family, Zane's stuck in ROH. This could be a great team to have year round and have these guys be one of the pillars of the division and constantly being tag challengers, being standout of this tournament. Everything about them just really, really rocks.
I agree.
So we'll see what their week looks like coming up. But yeah, I expect this to be a team that kind of goes down, doesn't win many this coming up week, just because they're an awesome team, and also they're AEW guys, so maybe there's a chance. But I think that we're gonna probably see these guys maybe get close to being the B2, but then getting bumped out towards the end.
And with that being a factor, if you are a conspiracy theorist and you believe that there's any sort of level of loyalty or obligation to keep guys from the West strong in these tournaments, this is a very imposing team that could play a very likely spoiler down the stretch, where even if they don't get in, they can beat any team on any night, and it's totally plausible and believable. So I'm almost kind of thinking of them as I don't want to think of them in the same light as Chase and Yujiro, and I don't want to compare them in that way, but I kind of view them as being a very strong potential spoiler for some of the other teams.
Yeah. And one last thing too I'll say about Archer, I think I mentioned it last week, this guy just kind of comes alive when he's in Japan. He's all fired up, he's yelling, he's screaming, he's just super fired up, he's making these great hot tags, he's flying all over the place, and you really don't get to see that in AEW. He's mainly just kind of, a heavy in the Don Callis family, usually just kind of following Don around and not doing a ton of matches. So it's kind of great to see him so motivated, so fired up. It's been a blast to watch. Then the last team here in the bottom of the B block with 2 points, sitting at 1 and 3. President Ace Hiroshi Tanahashi and the NJPW World TV Champion El Phantasmo. They lost to Finley and Hiromu on night 4. Night 6, losing to the Knockout Brothers. And then night 8, getting their first win of the tournament over Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr.
Yeah, we had questions going into this tournament about how they would book these guys, and we were kind of a little bit questionable because we're like, well, you got a singles champion and then you got a guy heading into the Dome in his final match. How do you handle that? And they've done the opposite of what we speculated they might do in offering some level of protection. They've allowed them to eat 3 losses back to back. Now, could this be classic Gato booking where they start to surge back? Maybe, but I'm getting the gut feeling based on the way they're working and the way they're slotted that it's more of a situation that this is classic Gato booking when it comes to Tanahashi in World Tag Leagues when he's got a big Dome match, which is basically you're there, you have fun, you put on performances, but you're not going to eat a lot. You're not going to get very many points.
Yeah.
And with that being said, yeah, ELP is a singles title, but it is clearly the least important singles title on the regular New Japan roster. It's like, I don't even know if it is truly above the strong title or not.
Come on. Yeah, it is.
I don't know if that's the case. At one point it was, but I don't know if that's the case right now. I mean, look at Gabe's the strong champion.
No, Ishii's a strong champion.
Oh, that's right. They put it on Ishii. My bad. Well, even still, it's on Ishii, but like, I don't know. It's tough. That's a tough call. But they have this guy lose pretty often. And
yeah, he's ate 2 of the 3 losses. So for Tanahashi only eating 1. So, I mean, we kind of expected ELP to eat some pins because you got to set up a TV title match for the Dome. And I think, Finlay was one of the guys that pinned him. So, again, they're setting up potentially some of the bigger stars in this block to maybe face him in some kind of multi-man match in the Dome. But yeah, this is not quite what we expected with these guys, being a champion, being somebody that's going to have, a big retirement match. But yeah, it's kind of like you mentioned, the Tanahashi formula of also we need a big star in the tour on the block. We need Tanahashi on the tour. It's his last, World Tag League. And it's kind of just there for, I think, feel good for him and to kind of finish out this World Tag League and be able to team with ELP.
I mean, the work is basically a lot of nostalgia act, and obviously ELP's doing most of the heavy lifting. Rightfully so. Tanahashi's taking little to no bumps most of this tour, kind of preserving himself a little bit. And, these guys are, they're doing similar moves, radio, clover leaves, radio, dragon screws. And, you've got Tanahashi kind of hitting the hits. He's always getting the second rope, springboard cross body and, the sling blade and the running forearm and just kind of the stuff you would expect from him. And that's basically it. He's in there to play the hits and kind of get out of there. And ELP's there to do the heavy lifting, and that's basically what it is. And play air guitar and shit like that. But they're basically done. I mean, mathematically, they're not totally done, but like to me, they're done. They already got 3 losses. That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Hard time seeing them get through to that B2 spot. Which I mean, we didn't expect these guys to really get through anyway because Tanahashi already has a date for the Dome, and we figured that ELP would be defending the TV title. So to me, they weren't even really a believable team to really win or get through anyway. So it kind of makes sense for where they're at.
But I do feel like, again, that match last night with TMDK was stellar. And both of these guys are really, they put their working boots on that night when it was against TMDK, and seeing Tanahashi go up for the high fly flow one more time and get the big win over Oiwa, that was pretty cool. So that was the clincher for him winning Wrestler of the Month, really, was that moment.
Yeah.
So
we had a question here from Rambo and Slam Pigs. It's with the World Tag League being far more compelling than usual, and with Knockout Brothers being one of the most interesting acts in the promotion, do you think we are seeing a shift to the tag division being a more important component of NJPW, or is it just happenstance and likely to revert to the normal tags not mattering once again?
I think it always just depends on it. I think it's situational. Do they have a tag act that they intend to push and utilize. And at times, New Japan has had tag acts that they intend to utilize to a great extent. Right now, it's Knockout Brothers. We've seen this in the past with like GOD. We've seen it in the past with like Show and Yo or Roppongi 3K, the Young Bucks. So it really just depends on like, do they have a tag act that they're wanting to build around? You know, there were times where Bishamon had a good revolving cast of opponents, and it's all situational, really.
Yeah, and we've seen this kind of ebb and flow with the tag division throughout the years. Like, they usually at some point will find like 3 or 4 teams to kind of rotate around, and then it kind of, you have a lull period, and they'll find some more teams. You know, we went through like our War Machine, Killer Elite Squad, GOD era, and then it kind of went down, and then you had like Dangerous Techers and Golden Lovers and Golden Ace and Bishamon, and it kind of went down, and you had Bishamon kind of surge again, and so it just kind of depends on what teams they have at the time and who's available and who they're pushing. But I do feel like we get these ebb and flows of like, all right, now all of a sudden, yeah, we have all these set teams, and then we have 3 or 4 teams that are constantly feuding. Kind of what we saw in the junior tag division as well. In the last couple of years, you know, you had Catch 2-2, Drilla and Clark, Ichiban Sweet Boys, and Kevin Knight and Kushida. You had that set 4 teams that they could kind of rotate through it, and the junior division was hot, but now those teams are gone, kind of a lull period, and so we're kind of waiting in that division as well for kind of the rebuild.
Yeah, even a couple of years ago, like you mentioned, when you know, Bishamon had already kind of cycled out a lot of their opponents. They brought in FTR, they brought in you know, the traditional TMDK team, they brought in Aussie Open, and then they were able to kind of revitalize. So it's ebbs and flows, like you said. It's all situational.
Yeah. And then another question from MJ here. It says, Chris Charlton said on broadcast that rumors were saying Murashima might be heading to Europe and Chomakato to Mexico for excursions. Looks like we'll get a young Lion Club to close out the year with some graduation taking place. Can you guys discuss how you're feeling about the current young Lion roster, and how long do you expect Murashima and Kato to be away?
Well, I mean, I never know. I mean, it's generally going to be somewhere between 6 months to maybe just shy of a year. That's pretty normal. I guess it does depend on what kind of agreements are in place and what sort of expectations and metrics are put in place to judge these guys and get them prepared. And probably also has something to do with like, do we have the right timing to bring them back to get them into the swing of things, you know, that sort of thing. But I'm looking forward to a Young Lion Cup. I mean, the last one they did was in 2019, late 2019, and it sort of ended around like Power Struggle. Mm-hmm. But when we first started the show in 2017, they were in the midst of we actually had just started the Young Lion Cup when this show started. We covered that during, you know, maybe they'll bring, I would love it if they brought back Lionsgate Project.
Yeah, that'd be dope.
Bring them into Shinjuku face, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But that was, I really loved that tournament. And that was at the very tail end of the year. So it kind of feels like if they are going to do that, that would be, but he did say like, to close out the year, we don't really have time for them to do that in time to close out the year unless they really like jumped on it or even didn't do a round robin. Maybe they did like a
single elimination.
I don't know. But I think they got a good crop of guys. I'm not super duper high on everybody, but I think Murashima and Kato have both made massive improvements over where they first started. Because at one point we were talking about, you know, Daiki Nagai and Yasuda lapping them. And that's not really necessarily the case anymore. So looking forward to seeing where those guys go. In our Discord, there were people that were very apprehensive about the idea of Murashima heading to Europe because they automatically assume that means like Brit Res. But Europe is a big region, continent, you know, whatever you want to call it. And other people were like, well, he might be going to Germany like the way KOB did. And that seemed to help them. And then they're like, I didn't think about Deutschland. So maybe when they say Europe, maybe that's what they're talking about. Hard to say. But I think Shomakato's got Mexico written all over him.
Oh, yeah.
So Yeah, as far as the rest of the lines, though, like obviously Daiki Nagai, incredible, and Matsumoto, I'm getting very high on him, and Zane J is of the Western guys that have come over, like he's really impressive, and he's making huge improvements, and he already had a great a great independent pedigree behind him before he ever got here, so he's already got the reps.
Yeah, I think we have a really good crop of young lion. I was just checking the schedule. It looks like there's only 3 Road to Tokyo Dome shows before we get to the Tokyo Dome. So I don't think that's enough time to do a round robin tournament with these guys.
How many guys do we got though? There might be time.
So you got Yasuda, Murashima, Zane J, Yasuda, Shoun Kato. Nagai.
Daiki Nagai, that's 6.
Yeah.
So if you did 2 blocks of 3, you would have just basically 2 nights of action for block action. And you could do if you wanted to do 2 blocks, and then you could do the finals on the 3rd night.
Maybe, yeah. And even if they could even start, World Tag League Finals to give them an extra night to play with too. If you did
the single block, then obviously you're talking about, 5 nights of action and then a final on top of that. That's maybe not as doable. But if you wanted to get it done in short order, you could easily do 2 blocks of 3 and just have the 2 matches. The one guy that comes out on top out of those, that small series, goes to the finals. You could do that in 3 nights easily.
Yeah. Unless, if you want to have like the finals at the pre-show Tokyo Dome, it's another option to kind of give you some more room to play with.
Well, then you said they have what? They've got 3 Road to Tokyo Dome shows?
Yes. Yeah. December 19th, 21st, and 22nd.
Let me look at what else they got. Yeah, because I was going to see if they had any non-televised events coming up. No, they don't. Well, with that, like if you did a single block tournament, you'd still need at least 5 nights and then probably another night for a final, which is that's 6 matches, 5 matches, and then a final. You could even do the final on the same night as the final. I don't think the time is there for that. But the other thing you could do is a single elimination tournament, but there's only 6 guys. That gets harder to do.
You give somebody a bye.
It's a very short field to be doing buys.
Yeah.
But
it's definitely a time crunch.
Is there anybody else that is out there that could easily be thrown if you wanted to round it out and come up with 8 guys? Is there anybody else on the roster that might make sense? I'm trying to take a look here.
I don't think so. I don't think there's any other young. Maybe Jacob Austin Young, but I feel like he would win if he was in it. I feel like he's above those guys.
Well, you got Aaron Wolf.
Yeah, but they're not putting it there. He's not showing up till the Dome.
I'm just joking. But if they did want to do an 8-man deal, they could always hypothetically throw in maybe somebody from Tamashi if there's someone developmental like that they would want to bring over.
Yeah,
and then
or we've seen them bring in other companies, young lions. So maybe somebody from another promotion could come in.
That's possible too. Or they could bring in Hook. He could probably use the reps.
Yeah, he needs a lot more than just reps. Yeah, he needs to just stay in the dojo for a long, long time.
But I know they've talked about doing this tournament. I don't know if they actually have the space in the calendar to do it before the end of the year. But I would love it if they were to kind of shoehorn that in last minute.
Yeah. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with the Young Lion roster. Also, like I mentioned, Daiki Nagai has been the clear standout. You talk about a guy that just gets wrestling and where he needs to be, facial reactions, charisma, the fire. I could see him following the Vegeta route, the Oya route of kind of having really short excursion, maybe domestically, or just kind of graduating even without an excursion and, fully linking on with unaffiliated and going from there. So yeah, he's super talented. And so the other young lions have really been stepping their games up. And so I think some excursions will help some of those guys. Yeah, we'll see what happens next with them.
Well, we're hitting the 2-hour mark. Let's muscle through the rest of this because I'd like to dot some T's and cross some I's. You like how I said that? You like how I said that backwards. So I can finish up a smidge bit of research on the Tanahashi series. But so we've got tomorrow, probably by the time you're listening to this, Tuesday 12-2 from Imesi Yamanashi. Night 9 of World Tag League. In the block action, we have Oleg Boltin and Toru Yano taking on the House of Tortures, Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi. Bishamon will be taking on House of Torture, Fale and Evil. Semi-main event, Desperado, Shuji Ishikawa versus Gabe and Tsuji. And then your main event, Satoshi Kojima and Taichi versus the War Dragons.
Then we go to night 10.
Do you not want to touch on any? We're getting down to the nitty gritty here. We might want to
do some predictions.
Just briefly.
All right. Well, I think I can see Chase and Yujiro continuing to lose. Boltin and Yano will probably pick up a win there.
I agree, but if there ever were a time that Owens and Yujiro need to pick up a win to kind of even some points totals out, that might be a good spot for that.
Yeah. I could see Bishamon beating Evil and Fale to get a tie there, get both teams at 3-2.
They need it. I think they need to win that match. It's very important from a points total standpoint.
The semi-main event, very interesting. 2 3-1 teams there. Despy and Ishikawa, Gabe and Tsuji. I think I'm going to go with the mega team there, Gabe and Tsuji.
I agree. I think so too, because I don't think Desperado and Shuji, as much as I like them, they're not a team that's in play to actually final in this thing. So they're gonna drop a loss. And then the sexy pick here might be Kojima and Taichi upsetting the War Dragons, but I don't see it going that way. I think this is where they get eliminated from the tournament in a big match, and War Dragons move on and kind of get closer to being in the mix.
Yeah, that's what I'd go to.
Night 10 from Twin Messe Shizuoka, Wednesday 12-3, so no days off. B block, we got ELP Tanahashi versus Monster Sauce. You got United Empire versus Narita Sonata of Hot. You got Knockout Brothers versus TMDK. And then in your main event, you got Finley and Hiromu versus Umina and Uemura.
Man, in this B block, it's like, because they're so even, it's like every win is like really important here. That first matchup, I could see ELP and Tanahashi beating Monster Sauce and get some more wins under their belt.
Maybe, but I also wouldn't totally be surprised Monster Sauce beats them.
It could happen. I just feel like you're not going to set up either of these guys to come face Phantasmo.
Right. So, yeah, I agree. I think we're going to see ELP and Tanahashi win there. That United Empire and House of Torture match, I would love for United Empire to pick up a win there and kind of even some points up.
Yeah, I hope Newman and Okan, hopefully, they can cheat House of Torture there and get a win. Knockout Brothers versus TMDK.
Very tough.
That's, man.
That's sort of a do or die for TMDK.
Yeah, because if they lose, that puts them, 2-3.
Hydra, and they're losing the Knockout Brothers, so it's not just a loss, it's like a pretty damning loss that probably, because Knockout Brothers are going to be very high up in points total, whether they go through or not. So they need that win. That's high drama. I'm going to go with TMDK, even though I kind of don't think it's likely. I'm just holding out hope that they go with them. So that's my prediction.
I don't know. Something's telling me to go Knockout Brothers.
That's a smart man's pick. You're probably right. And then that main event match, I think Umino and Uemura are going to pick up that win there. They need it.
Yeah, I think so too.
Night 11 from Edion Arena, Osaka, number 2, Friday, 12-5. So back to the A block, we got Kojima and Taichi versus Chase Owens and Yujiro. I think this is a whatever match because they'll both be out at this point. In my
it doesn't matter.
So we're not even going to give a prediction. It doesn't fucking matter. Despy and Shuji Ishikawa will take on House of Torture, Fale, and Evil. If Fale and Evil haven't lost on the previous night, then they might lose here. But I'm guessing they probably beat Desperado and Ishikawa.
Yeah, I think they're going to get another win, yeah.
And then you got Oleg and Yano versus War Dragons. That's actually a closer one than you might think. And I'm a little torn on that one.
I could see Oleg and Yano winning to even points up.
I haven't done the perfect math, so I'm not totally sure. But you know what? I'm going to kind of go with that. And I think I want War Dragons to win there. I do. But they might lose. And then your main event, you got Kid and Tsuji versus Bishamon.
I think Bishamon.
I think it's Bishamon too.
Because Gabe and Tsuji, we have them come in. They'll be coming in at 4-1. And Bishamon will be 3-2. So then you even up. They'll both be 4-2 at the end, and both at 8 points.
Then that's going to take us to night 12. This is next Sunday. So the night before we record, Ahimi, I don't know how to pronounce that, General Sports Park Gymnasium. We're going to finish up the week with B block action. So you got ELP and Tanahashi versus United Empire, Monster Sauce versus the Knockout Brothers, Finley and Hiromu versus TMDK. And then your main event, Umino and Uemura versus Narita and Sonata.
So I think I could see United Empire beating Phantasmo and Tanahashi. Maybe you have like Newman or Ocon pin ELP to get into a TV title contention.
I think that makes sense to me too. I don't see Monster Sauce beating the Knockout Brothers.
No, yeah, I think Knockout Brothers is going to win there. It's going to be interesting to see Oscar and Archer face off. I think that'll be cool.
The Finley, Hiromu, and TMDK match is do or die at this stage.
Yeah, I think TMDK will win that, which will probably fully knock out Finley and Hiromu.
That's where I'm leaning. And then the main event, that's also high stakes, high drama, because House of Torture are so far ahead, but we're kind of predicting them to take some losses here. And Umino and Uemura, this one's a tough one.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Umino and Uemura to get a tiebreaker win over these guys.
I don't know where the math is mathing, but I think House of Torture might win that one. And it might be a situation where both teams still go through, but this solidifies House of Torture as
1B or 1B.
Yeah. And then finally, Hiroshima Sun Plaza next Monday. So damn, how many nights is this? Is this 6?
I think it's 5.
2,
1, 2, 3,
3,
4, 6. Yeah.
5. Oh my! No, this is only 5 nights.
5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah.
Thank God. Okay, so we do get 2 days off. Monday, 12-8 from Hiroshima Sun Plaza. We are back in A block action in the final days of the tournament. Bishamon versus War Dragons will open up. You got Kojima and Taichi versus Kid and Tsuji, Desperado and Ishikawa versus House of Torture, Owens and Yujiro, and then the main event, Oleg Boltin and Yano versus Don Fale and Evil. And you know what? I think my take that I think Oleg Boltin and Yano might beat War Dragons kind of maybe is a bit stronger because I feel like they're going to come in off of that momentum going against House of Torture. I think War Dragons beat Bishamon here.
I can see that because we have Bishamon coming in 4-2. I think we got War Dragons coming in 3-3.
I think so, something like that.
So yeah, I think you have War Dragons win, and then that has both teams at 4-3 at 8 points.
Night 6, I think Kojima and Taichi are basically done, but they might play spoiler to a Tsuji Kid situation, but I find it hard to imagine them beating Kid and Tsuji at this point.
Yeah, which it would put, I think that would then put Kid and Tsuji at 10 points, I think, how we have it.
They're going to have to eat some losses here somewhere.
Yeah, so maybe Taichi can pin Gabe Kid.
Nights, the 7th match of the night. We've already kind of got Ishikawa and Desperado taking some losses. I think that they could probably beat House of Torture, Owens, and Yujiro here.
Yeah.
But in that main event, I think Fale and Evil beat Oleg Boltin and Yano.
Probably, but again, that's a matchup where there's going to be so much shenanigans. Like Yano, we've seen Yano like own Evil a lot of times in tournaments like this.
And Fale.
Yeah. So I could easily see like, they think they have the momentum, and then somehow Yano, low blows and rolled up one of these guys. And we've also seen Fale and Bolton have a rivalry this year as well, and so they can kind of pick that up also. So, Evil and Fale will probably win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Oleg and Yano win to stay alive and kind of even things up.
Well, that's what we've got so far. Maybe next week we do a better job, like booking out with actual point totals, but I don't know. At this point, I don't think it matters too much, but that's sort of our off the cuff predictions there. By the time we record next week, we'll have a much clearer picture of where we're going as far as the end of this tournament, heading into Road to Tokyo Dome. So we're getting there. And it looks like we don't have too much news or questions, really.
Yeah, just one question here from Ethan in the Discord. Says, can y'all shoot on the Liger return match versus Joey Janela at WrestleCade?
I don't really have any strong opinions or takes on it, to be honest with you. I know some people were mad. Yeah, Liger has been showing up in gear and doing some active participation wrestling in non-official matches abroad from time to time, just as like a fan servicey sort of thing. Mm-hmm. And in this case, he probably got paid a lot of money to show up with Sonny Ono. And we all know how much Joey Janela is a mark for the Japanese legends and getting an opportunity. So I don't know how much money they threw at him, but he probably got the bag, and I know that there's probably going to be some podcasts. Who knows? I can't perfectly predict what everyone's going to say or think, but there's probably some people who are going to belabor the integrity of his retirement and how this flies in the face of him, having worked that big dome send off and yada, yada. And then they're like, oh, and it's just, and for what, a goofy match against Joey Janela, who a lot of people at this point kind of just dismiss. But to me, I'm just like, he wrestled for 1:38,
Yeah.
And it's not like, here's the thing. It's like when some guys, when they retire, they unretire. Like they re-sign with the company. They take the bag, like a Terry Funk sort of situation where they've retired several times and then they're right back to active duty. Liger's had this one official match and it was sub 2 minutes. It was he probably just showed the guy a couple times and hit him with a Liger bomb.
Yeah.
And he probably took a little bit of heat from Joey and then that was about it. And he probably got paid an exorbitant amount of money. And it's not like he's out of retirement. Like, he worked a match. He took a payday. No big deal. Like, I think it's a non-issue.
Yeah, I didn't really bat an eye at it. First of all, I never expect a wrestler to be quote unquote fully retired. Like, they're gonna show up in some capacity, some way or another. And yeah, I feel like a guy like Liger, still pretty mobile guy. And yeah, he's not out here taking a bunch of dates. He's just doing some fun stuff. And yeah, sub 2 minute match. And it's not like he's going to sign with like GCW and like be doing a full loop tour or sign with like AEW and like start doing matches every week. Like, I think it's just like a one-off. It's WrestleCade. It's kind of like a WrestleCon kind of convention. You had a lot of meet and greet kind of stuff, and so he was probably there for that. And then I'm sure Joey always wanted to do something with him, so it was like, yeah, let's do this. Essentially, it was all probably more of like an angle, quote unquote, than a match. Like, go out there, yeah, eat a shote, get pinned. It's not that big of a deal.
But I saw people that were genuinely upset about this. They wanted, they didn't like the idea that this is on his official, match registry or whatever. And I'm like, get over it, nerds. Let this man earn,
Yeah, man, you don't think Tanahashi is gonna show up at Joey Janela's spring break in 10 years? And get ready.
Oh, and I think we have the official pings. Yep, they've been vectorized, so they scale with. Yep, so we have the logos, and I think we're good to go. So I'm gonna probably tonight. They're asking me, did I announce it on Kiss today? Yes. So we're gonna. We will. I think, Jeremy, by the time you go to, when do you actually? Jeremy does all the legwork. When do you actually publish
this episode?
The show? Yeah.
I mean, tonight?
Yeah. So that will be published tonight.
Yeah.
I will get you a link before the night is through for this store. One-off store. No other merch will ever be on it. It'll never be used for anything else. And if we make any profit, we'll shoot some money to those other guys. I'm sure it's going to go super far, being split 4 ways. And then with me and Jeremy split in half.
Yeah.
So this is really not a money making venture, but trust me, guys, when you guys see what we have here, you're going to really love it. So
nice. Well, that's going to wrap things up for us here this week. Next week, we'll be back to review nights 8 through 13 of World Tag League and cover all this news in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Remember, if you want to watch our show live or listen without ads, sign up at patreon.com/KI Strong Style. You can also make a donation by visiting socialsuplex.com/donate and click on the donate button under the Keepin It Strong Style logo. Make sure to connect with us on social media on X and Blue Sky. Follow us at KI Strong Style, at Social Suplex, and at Jeremy L. Donovan, and at YB_Josh and Liger. On Facebook, follow us at facebook.com/Social Suplex. On Reddit, I'm the Pro Black Guy. Josh is Keeping It Strong Style. On YouTube, we are at Social Suplex. And you can join our Social Suplex Discord server to interact with us and other wrestling fans. You can email me at jeremy@socialsuplex.com and check out all the other shows that we have here on the Social Suplex Podcast Network. One Nation Radio with Rich Latta and James Boyd, All Things Elite with Floyd and Austin, Imps AEW Adventure with The Implications, Matthew Mayer, Wrestling Art with Chris Things, Tunnel Talk with Ali and Leah, and the Trish and Sarah Wrestling Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a rating and review, and we will catch you next week on Keeping It Strong Style, the ace of podcasts.
Ichiban.
Thank you for listening to Keepin' It Strong Style. We'll see you next time.
If you're a podcast host, listen up, this one's for you. My name is Allie Jackson. I'm the host of Finding Mr. Height, a dating and relationship podcast that I've been doing for 4 years now, sharing my positive and practical approach to dating that's built on my own life experience. And I wanted to share another experience that I've had, my secret behind monetizing my show. It's called Red Circle, and I was just telling my colleague about how much I love their platform. With Red Circle, not only am I getting a seamless hosting experience, but I also love the support I receive in ad sales. It's not just typical ad sales either. It's targeted opportunities based on my show and my life. And the platform is super simple. You just set your preferences and Red Circle matches you with sponsors that align with your show. You can vet every opportunity and their platform gives you great analytics. More recently too, my Red Circle team has brought me opportunities outside of my podcast on social media to really augment the podcast partnerships, bring them full circle. I just can't recommend them enough. If you want to give it a try, go to redcircle.com to get your free trial. That's redcircle.com for a free trial.